for Pet Connect. I'm Tara Douglas. We're going to get right to our special guest today because we're going to talk about the Sylacauga Animal Shelter. And we have our youngest dog walker, our regular dog walker at 17. We have Miss Lily Hurd here today. So Lily, thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's fun.
So tell me about why you started coming out to walk dogs, because you come like clockwork every week and do such a good job, and we appreciate all your help.
Well, I came because a therapist actually recommended it,
Okay.
but I stayed for the dogs.
Absolutely. And you know, that is very interesting because it does help to be out there with the dogs. It not only helps them, it helps us too.
Yeah,
when we're out there walking them.
It's a good nature walk. It clears your mind.
It does. So let's talk about what happens, because I know a lot of people want to come out and walk dogs and they have questions, or it can be intimidating to go do something for the first time.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Of course.
So when you first get to the shelter, I know, and we'll talk about what needs to happen with different ages. So first of all, let's talk about some of the rules of walking dogs at the shelter. Of course, 18 and older, you can come in, do whatever you need and control a dog and go walk a dog. But if you're under 16, you need to have a parent with you, and the parent walks the dog, and the kids can come and help. Because we have a lot of, you were just mentioning all the different ages, and what a nice mix it is.
Yes, it's like almost 50-50.
It is.
There's just as many kids as there is adults.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times there is just as many kids. And I was discussing it with the shelter manager. If you're 16 and 17, you are absolutely welcome to come out and walk dogs, and you can control the dogs, but we're going to have an adult with anybody that's 16 and 17 years old, and we need to have the parental permission. So your dad brings you out every week. He comes in, he signs all the paperwork, and you sign it, and then you get ready to go.
Yep.
So what has your experience been walking the dogs? You talked about nature walks. Tell us a little bit about that area where you get to walk them.
It's very open. There's trees everywhere. There's a little spot where you can take the dogs into the water, and then they can splash around, and there's a little creek. I mean, it's a very pretty place to walk.
It really is. I mean, we're right there. When you come and walk the dogs, there are so many spots. You've got a dirt road you can walk down that's got a pretty field on one side and trees. You've got a little wooded area where there's a trail that goes through there, and just like you said, the dogs seem to love the water. So it's nice to be able to get them into a creek and have some fun and roll around, and
especially on the hot days.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad we're getting out of those really hot days. It was tough to get the dogs out then.
It was harder, but I think it was still worth it.
Absolutely. Those dogs loved it, even though they didn't want to get out and run a mile by any means, but they enjoyed getting out and just getting some fresh air.
We could still walk them when it's hot. We just got to keep them in the grass, and we got to keep the walk shorter, but walking in the heat is fine.
And that's also why it's so nice to have that area to walk around the shelter with the trees and the trails, because we can walk them in that heat and keep their paws off the asphalt where it gets so hot in the hot days.
And it's a shaded area, so it cools both of you off.
Absolutely, because we don't want our walkers to get, our dog walkers themselves to get hot.
Oh yeah.
Now, you have your own dogs, correct?
Yes.
So how many dogs do you have?
We have 4 currently.
Okay, and then how old are they?
We have...
And here's one picture. Who is this that's up on the screen right now?
That's Zeus, our German Shepherd. I'm pretty sure he's the only one we've bought, not adopted.
He looks like he's spoiled rotten.
Oh,
he's laying there on toys, and
and then there's Sadie. She is so silly.
Now, where did you get Sadie?
Sadie was actually a drop-off in our neighborhood.
Oh, so you were able to save her. Somebody just dropped her?
I mean, we didn't want her in the house, but I took her in anyway.
She had plans of her own, and you accommodated her.
Yes.
Let her come in the house. Now, who's this little?
This is the old man, Junior. He's the oldest. I think we've had him ever since I was like 4.
Okay.
He's real small. He's a Chiweenier. He's so cute.
So he's definitely a part of the family if he's been around
He-
almost as long as you've been around.
He's the leader. He's the boss.
I bet he is. It's so funny to watch little dogs like that and how they do become the boss, usually of the bigger dogs.
Yeah.
I bet that German Shepherd, I bet Zeus does whatever he wants, whatever the little dog wants him to do.
Yes. He usually starts the barking. He guards the house. He protects you.
Now you have a fourth dog. We didn't have a picture. What kind of dog is that?
That's Buddy.
Okay.
He is he's about 5 maybe,
Okay.
and he was also a drop off that we rescued. And he's very shy, and he kind of he needs someone to lay with, and he wants pets and food and everything.
Well, that's good because I bet you provide all of that for him.
Yes.
All of the love he needs. And it's so nice of you and your family to take in dogs that were just dumped in your neighborhood. It's we hear that story all too often.
Yeah.
And you get to see the shelter and see how hard the shelter works and all the volunteers work to try to find homes for them. But it's so nice to hear that sometimes instead of them ending up in the shelter, they do get such a good home.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
He's been through a lot though, but he's always laid on the couch with me every day.
Now, do you find that having some dogs like that were dropped off at your house, that you've had to help them work through some things and adopt them and help them integrate them into your family, does that help you when you meet these dogs at the shelter and walk them around? I mean, does it help you understand their personalities and maybe what they've been through?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes it a lot easier to understand that they were dropped off and they probably aren't in the best place. So they do need a little bit of training, but I think it's worth it.
Absolutely, and you do such a good job with the dogs, and they seem to love you.
Oh, yeah.
It always helps when Lily's out there walking dogs. If there's a dog that is a little scared, I can let her sit to the side and just love the dog. And usually, you have that dog to where they're much happier and willing to walk a little bit after you sit with them.
Oh yeah, the pits are love bugs. All they want to do is hug and they want to cuddle. They want pets. They are my favorite.
Yeah, I think that they're usually a favorite with most of the walkers. I think some people coming are a little, they may have heard some things and they're a little leery of walking the pits, but those pits seem like they're the sweetest and most lovable of all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they love to give you hugs.
Absolutely. So now let's talk a little bit, before we talk about specific dogs at the shelter, let's talk a little bit about your art, because you did a beautiful drawing for the shelter of one of the dogs that you had been walking, and you've got some pictures of your art up. We'll have that up in just a second, but here's some of it right here. How do you do that art?
Well, it's it's an app called IBS Paint X, and it's for mobile. I draw it with my fingers,
Okay.
and they're all original characters that I designed. And I've been drawing for years, 4 or 5 years now.
They are so cute, and you did such a great one at the shelter. Lily had a dog. Was that Jimmy? Was that his name?
That was Jimmy.
There was a little dog named Jimmy that was there.
That
Lily.
was my first walk.
So she decided to do a drawing of her walking Jimmy because she had such a great experience, and you did such a great job with him, and he got adopted, and you can know that you played a big part in that,
Yeah.
helping him find a home. So let's talk about some of the specific dogs at the shelter, though. So I know you've got some that you've really fallen in love with, and some that you have walked quite a bit. And
Oh,
so we
yeah.
get a lot of information, as I've mentioned on the show before. We get so much information from our dog walkers. When you come and walk those dogs, then get them out. You can learn their personalities, and then we have so much more to share with potential adopters and people that need to take them into their homes. We've got so much information to give them. So who's your favorite out of all the dogs that are there right now?
I'd say my favorite has to be Goose.
Goose, okay. I don't think I sent a picture to Chris to put up of Goose, but Goose he's a really beautiful dog. He's a big pit bull.
Yes.
He's just a lovable dog, isn't
He's
he?
just a goofball.
He is. And so, when you go and walk the dogs, there's so many different things that can happen. Sometimes you'll have dogs that walk really easily. Sometimes you have dogs that pull a little bit, but they all seem to just love getting out and love
yeah.
all of the dog walkers.
Well, most of them do. Some of them start off shy, but
Mhm.
we love on them and they get better.
Absolutely, and that's why, like as I was saying, it's so good to have people like you that you're a natural with dogs, and the ones that are shy and a little scared, you can pull them to the side, find a good shady spot, and just hang out with them and get them comfortable.
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10, we can get them out walking to where they are enjoying being. I mean, they enjoy being outside even if they're a little scared, but where they feel very confident that they can go for walks.
Yeah, and they feel much better around people and everything.
Absolutely. Well, let's see if we have some pictures that are coming up. There's Stallone. So I know you haven't walked Stallone too much, but I know you've interacted with him. He is a very sweet. All of these dogs that we're showing in the pictures are all adult dogs, and he is one that he's been at the shelter for quite some time, and he's not too big, so he would be a good, easier dog to adopt because he might pull just a little bit, but I can tell you last week when we got him out, he wasn't pulling at all. He was such a gentleman on his walk.
And he's very nice with other dogs.
He really is. Now here's one I know you know pretty well. This is Stormy. Stormy's being spoiled in this picture. It's when she got to go out to get a pup cup at Starbucks with some of our volunteers. So tell us about Stormy.
Stormy is just the most cutest dog. I think they're on the smaller side, but very easy to manage. No pulling.
No, Stormy is just a doll. All she wants to do is walk a little bit and sit in your lap.
Yes.
And so we don't know her story, but she is a great dog. And now here's Kimberly. Kimberly, she's a situation where her whole litter of puppies, they were saved by one of our volunteers from Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill and brought to the shelter. And there are 3 puppies in that litter that are still there. Most of the puppies left for other states, but Kimberly has had an opportunity to live at a foster house for a while. She got to go to Meredith Dempsey's house for the Love of Dog, where she got boarded and a little bit of training, and she is just a really sweet dog. So how much interaction have you had with Kimberly?
Quite a lot.
Okay, and so I know she's very sweet. What is your take on her?
She's very gentle. She's more one of the dogs that have been there for a while, I'm sure, because I've walked her ever since the beginning.
And she's grown up at the shelter, so we would love to find her a home. She's ready to go to a new home. She's a little over a year old. She's spayed. She's had all of her shots, and she's been in a home before. So, and the foster home where she was very good with other dogs. She was basically house trained by the time she left, so she'd be a perfect dog for somebody. And there is Sam. This is actually my dad's favorite dog at the shelter. I know you mentioned when that picture came up, you liked his tongue.
Yes.
He's definitely posing for this picture. He is a smaller dog too. I mean, obviously not a tiny dog like your Chiweenie that you have, but he is on the smaller side, and he is a solid black dog. And again, he just seems like a very sweet dog. He does fine with all the walkers, and he does fine with other dogs.
He's just a happy little boy.
And then now this is Nyla. And I know you get to walk Nyla quite a bit because Lily's always the first person at the shelter, and Nyla and the next dog we're going to show are usually the first 2 out. So tell us about Nyla.
Well, Nyla is still a lover, but she tends to do her own thing.
Okay.
Which some people want. Some people prefer that.
Absolutely. She is a very independent dog, isn't she?
Yes. She'll still give love and everything, but she also loves the water.
So yeah, some of them love water more than others. They're all appreciated, but some of them like to dive in. Now this is Baxter. You love Baxter too. He's such a handsome dog.
Yes, he is. But he's also determined, so he pulls a little bit. But for the most part, he's just a sweet boy. And you could just sit with him and pet him.
He is such a strong dog. We don't know his mix, but it might be Basset or Corgi mixed with something because he's got those tiny little legs, but he is strong.
When he want to go, he goes.
Yeah, he's going to go, and you're going to have to go with him. But he's such a good dog, and he's great with other dogs too, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, I've always.
He's a very chill dog.
So he'd be a great home for somebody too. But we have so many dogs there at the shelter. Of course, we're showing you 5 or 6 of those. But if you're interested in adopting a dog, please go by the shelter. They're on intake hold still, but we do have dogs coming in, and we have there's a waiting list to bring dogs in. So If you are in the market to add a dog to your family, please go by the shelter and meet some of these dogs, because even though they're adult dogs and we don't know where they came from, they are quite a good group of dogs, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'd say so.
And if you have any questions, all you have to do is call the shelter or message Feral Dogs of Avondale, and we can get a hold of some of the volunteers, because we can get lots of good information because of people like you, Lily, coming in, spending some time and loving the dogs and having great information about them.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you coming on the show. We appreciate you coming out to walk dogs. And if you're interested in walking dogs, come out on Saturday from 11 to 1, and we will be out there. If we're ever not out there, we post. I mean, there's only been one weekend in the last year that we haven't been out there. So 9 times out of 10, you'll be out there to walk dogs, and we will certainly be there, and we can help you understand those dogs and understand all the rules. And Lily will be there most likely.
Can't you help with other things throughout the week?
Absolutely. Yeah, if you want to go and volunteer at the shelter, you certainly just give them a call, let them know that you're coming, and there's so many more ways that you can help. But we appreciate all the helpers that we have come out like Lily, and we'll see you at the shelter, and we'll have more Daybreak after these messages.